And this is the Volkswagen Beetle of airplanes, the most produced airplane in the history of aviation, Cessna 172. They started making them in like 1955. The previous ones had tail wheels. They were called variously 120s, 140s, 170s, you know. And anyways, the 172 is your basic, super safe, isn't going to kill anybody. The other one, yeah, this one. Unless you can do stupid things in it.
Sure.
We'll talk about that because aeronautical decision making and situational awareness and all the human factor stuff is very important, and it's recognized as such now. But the other one is your basic little Piper Cherokee Warrior Archer. That's Carl England's airplane. He uses that airplane to do Coast Guard auxiliary. Yeah, and anyway, so I like Cessnas because they're high wing, they're more forgiving, I think. The main thing with getting this airplane was to teach Corin how to fly, and for us to have
Corin is your wife.
Corin is my wife, and you may remember, for any of your viewers that saw my somewhat verbose interview that I did last week, we flew this little airplane, you know, talking about utility of general aviation airplanes. We flew it all the way down to the Falkland Islands and Tierra del Fuego in Argentina. You know, there are airplanes, you can get auxiliary tanks, you can put a bladder tank in the back for long distance ferries, but I mean, this standard, basic, straight out of the factory 172 took us 23,000 miles there and back. So nothing wrong with this little airplane, whether you're doing this or, as I said last week, going over to Trader Joe's in Hyannis, or if you're trying to get to Lubeck, Maine, you can get into Eastport. There is a little grass field.
Eastport is right, yeah.
Well, there is a grass field in Lubeck.
That's right.
You would probably more rely on Eastport in instrument weather and stuff like that. It's paved, so they'll you know, plow it quicker, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So that I just looked at the iPad, and it's 2.5 hours. In fact, let's go.
Geez,
look at
that's
the
better
iPad.
than my 1 hour trip over to Hyannis and an 8-hour drive.
Oh, hideous. And then you're subject to other people being on the road, you know.
Sure.
Yes, there are airplanes up there, but if you're talking to somebody, they'll tell you about, you know, where they are, how to avoid them.
How much fuel would it cost me?
It would be, this thing burns about 9 gallons an hour. So let's say it's $6 a gallon, $54 an hour. So
Oh my God,
2.5 hours, you know, not
It's
much.
about the same.
I'm sure
I'm
it
not
is.
kidding, it's actually...
General aviation wins in terms of time. I mean, obviously you can't take this to England and have it be cost effective. You know, you'd have to go up over Greenland. We're doing that in 2 years anyways, year and a half actually. But sort of medium distance stuff, you know, 500 to 800 mile, GA usually wins. It's often less than airlines. It can be less than driving. So, I mean, it's a very useful thing. GA, of course, being general aviation.
I could actually buy a plane for around 30 grand.
Two-seaters.
A good one?
Yeah,
I mean,
perfectly good. Two-seater.
Two-seater.
40 onwards, you start getting one of these with a slightly smaller engine than we've got. We've got the 195 horse with the changeable pitch propeller. That makes it a little more expensive. You want to be equipped for instrument flight.
So something like this costs how much?
This is 70.
70,
This
right.
was 70.
Right.
You might get it for 60 now because since 9/11, used aircraft prices are coming down. As now they're building more new airplanes. See, nobody built little planes for a long time because of the insurance thing.
I see.
You know, everybody would sue everybody else, and Cessna said, phooey, and Piper followed suit. Then they brought in a thing called the statute of repose, so now you can't sue Cessna. I mean, it was like a guy would go out and get drunk and kill his whole family, and then the remaining family would sue Cessna for $100 million. Huh? So the statute of repose came in saying, if it's been perfectly good for 18 years, it's no longer Cessna's fault. You know, you go out and kill yourself by doing something stupid, you can't go and sue the manufacturer endlessly. And that's allowed, you know, the building of small airplanes and some really nice modern ones you can get, but because of the liability insurance, like your $60 car alternator for an airplane will be more like $500, $600.
Right.
So, you know, a new one of these, $300,000. A perfectly nice 25, 30-year-old one, 40 or 50.
Got it.
You know, nothing wrong with used aircraft.
Exactly.
You just need to treat them
What
as...
about the insurance on these though?
We pay, I think, $800 a year. And that's for me with millions of hours and Mr. Captain Super Guy. And
Okay,
that's
because-
also for Corin, who's relatively new private pilot.
Which we should let people know who hadn't seen your interview. You were a pilot for
British Airways captain on 747s. I was with them for 21 years. And then I got sick, which is why we went to South America, because we did that flight to promote organ donors, the shortage of organ donors, I should say.
You had an organ transplant.
I had a transplant at King's College Hospital in London, and I'm the Nantucket ambassador for Donate Life New England. We just basically get people to try and sign up, because one donor can save 8 lives.
When you say Donate Life, is that just...
It's the brand.
Okay.
It's my badge.
Yeah.
It's the sticker that's on the side of the window.
Okay.
The sticker on the back of my ID.
When you say donate life, what does that mean?
That means donate the stuff you will no longer need,
All right.
so that other people can live, because one organ donor can save 8 lives and improve up to 75 others. So, you know, you're dead, you're in the ground, bugs are eating it. Why? When other people could live.
Of course.
Now, that's a blunt way of saying it. People have sensitivities and have questions, and you need to address that. But bottom line, you're done with it. Let somebody else live, you know?
I agree. Yeah.
The plastic water bottle, I'm going to be very conscientious and put that in the plastic thing out at the dump.
Yeah.
But we throw life away. Why?
Good point.
So that was our thing, and that's half of what I do, is organ donor awareness stuff. Corin obviously lived through hell. I was in a coma for 2 months, 5 months in intensive care. I explained that all last week. But, you know, so we do these silly flights, these crazy things in little airplanes, and I can call on some of my experience from, you know, international operations for 20 years. But, you know, anybody really could do it. Getting into the Caribbean's a piece of cake. We've flown this to California and back.
No problem going to the
not at
Caribbean
all.
on something like this.
Yeah, it could break in Hyannis, it could break in
Yeah,
Arizona, it could
right.
break in Trinidad. It just, you know,
What kind of maintenance do you need?
an annual inspection, which can be, it depends what they find. They have to comply with certain things. There's a schedule of things that need to be looked at. There might be a rash of certain things happening, so the FAA will issue what's called an airworthiness directive that you will check the left top thingy, you know, every 200 hours. So, you know, they do the things that are prescribed by the FAA to do, and just have a general look around. You know, it can be $1,000, it can be $4,000, it depends what they find. And with an older airplane, you will find things that need replacing.
So
know,
once a year, you got to put
Once a year.
between $1,000 and $4,000 into the plane.
somewhere like
Figure
that.
on that.
Yeah, a couple grand would be an average.
What
I
about
suppose.
keeping it? And I mean, obviously, you have a nice hangar for it.
$300 a month for the hangar, the sticker, like your driver's license, like your license plate in your car. That's about $125, I believe, to the Massachusetts Aeronautics Commission. It's done through the DMV, RMV. What else? Insurance is $800, and you got to fly it enough to stay proficient. You know, machines like to be used, and a skill set that you spent a lot of time and effort investing in also likes to be used. You know, where it just withers away.
Right.
You know, I could still fire up a 747 and fly it after 3 years because I spent 15 years on it. But if you go get a private pilot's license in a month in Florida or in 3 weeks or something, and then don't touch an airplane for a year, you will have forgotten a lot of that by virtue of not having practiced it.